Okay, Julie, I just texted you.
Okay.
I've got notes written on there and highlighted, but obviously the black is for you.
And it was 619-246-0489?
Correct.
Okay. It's not here yet. Oh,
Get
there
a
it is.
text.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I emailed it over to the email you asked. Welcome everyone to the webinar. We'll be getting started.
All right. I'll welcome everybody and then I'll be good. And I'll introduce everyone too, right? Or should they introduce themselves?
I think we're active.
Sorry. Okay, go.
Hold on one second. All right, welcome everyone. I want to welcome you to the webinar, Taking the Pledge of Safety, presented by the Tenino Valley Chamber of Commerce. The purpose of this webinar is to discuss how and why businesses should safer together, stronger together pledge. Today we have 3 expert panelists who will discuss what is behind the changing guidelines and what a safe reopening looks like, and how to get recognized for it. Before we begin today's webinar, we have a few Zoom reminders. All attendees have been muted. If you have a question, please enter it in the chat box or the Q&A box. They are both located at the bottom of your Zoom screen. You will be able to see the presenters and their presentations. We can't see or hear you. You will receive a follow-up email with a video copy of this presentation, along with any links or documents discussed. This will include all the panelists' contact information. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Julie No. She is with State Farm Insurance, and also she is on our chamber board. She will be introducing our webinar panelists. Julie, you're on mute.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. I think we've got an amazing topic here about businesses reopening and everything that we need to know as we navigate this world of COVID-19. I'm going to introduce our panelists. First, we have Al Rubio with DCH Group. He is here, and he's got some topics he's going to talk about. David Berrigan, remind me again your company name, please.
It's Berrigan Corp International.
Perfect. And David is a risk manager. He's going to be here talking about that. And Rob Moran with the County of Riverside. Excellent, excellent. All right. Well, let's start. Let me check for questions first. As you have questions, please put it in the Q&A box. I'm going to constantly check it, make sure that I catch everybody. But what we'll do is I'll start off with a question each, and then from there, we can open it up and continue on. So, David, let's start with you. In your experience with consulting with multiple businesses in their reopening plans, how many of them know where to start, and what should they do when they start?
Well, from a perspective of occupational health, so every business out there in California has gotten a guideline on the protocol to do or to follow, and all the way down to the county level, which the county has fallen in line with the California regulation on the guidelines for opening. And so it looks like something like this. Everybody's got one for different businesses. If everyone's seen it, and that is from the California Department of Health and California OSHA. They asked for three things. They asked that you do a risk assessment, that you do a site-specific safety plan, and then you do training for your staff. So Julie, your question is, you know, how many people out there have really known what to do? And the answer is, at this point, and we've done a good 20 to 30 different types of businesses, it's not that they don't know what to do, they just don't know where to start. And so what happens in most cases, in all cases that we've seen, is that your business, you will put up hand sanitizer in different areas, or you'll put stickers on the ground, or you'll put signage around. But this is a sequence that you follow. So a risk assessment is to identify risk. So what you do during that risk assessment is identify all the opportunity for cross-contamination of COVID-19. That's what that risk assessment does. And what it does, I've got one here that I did for a winery. So you will have, you'll have pictures, you'll have an observation and a recommendation for every single instance that you would find cross-contamination potential. That risk assessment gives you then the ability to write a site-specific safety plan. You can't have a site-specific safety plan without a risk assessment. That site-specific safety plan gives the parameters for your facility on where to put all the hand sanitizer, the stickers, the signage, the protocols on masking or social distance and whatnot. But what the problem is that people are just going straight to step 3. You can't do step 3 unless you've done 1 and 2 first. So if there's something that the majority of the people out there are just not hitting the mark, is they're not following the sequence of events. And so you have to do 1 before you can do 3.
And I'm sure you're finding that a lot right now. So thank you so much, David. And it really does give us an idea and an indicator, like you said, that people don't even know where to start. So the purpose of this webinar is to discuss how and why businesses should take the Safer Together, Stronger Together pledge. Today, that's what we're going to discuss. It is a pledge that the county has started, and I myself have taken the pledge. Al, I believe you have taken the pledge of Safer Together, Stronger Together. So, and at the end, we'll show you how to do that. So thank you so much, David, for that good start. Rob, I want to ask you, where did this whole concept come from?
Well, thanks for asking. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. And really, I think what's important about this effort, it's really driven by the business community. And it's a ground up effort, if you will, that members of the county's Economic Recovery Task Force crafted to help their business members they created it kind of in a way where the business agrees to take certain steps with the pledge. And so it really is, like I said, a ground up effort. And I think it's critically important. And it's not just a marketing thing, where you're putting the stickers and so forth. That's helpful to the business, but it's the actions contained within the pledge that they're taking important consideration for the health and safety of the employees in the business. And this isn't just for retail. This is also for manufacturing operations or office settings or whatever the case may be. Oftentimes, I think people think it's just a retail type thing. It's not just that. So I think it's really important that the business community gets involved with this, because this is going to help in the big picture. It's going to help control the virus through health and safety protocols. And if we control the virus, then we help stimulate the economy. And that's an important nexus to make here, is that, this isn't the county saying you should do this. This is the business community agreeing that this is important, and that if we take this seriously and implement these steps, it's going to help prevent or minimize the spread of COVID, which is not just important for health and safety, which is the primary concern, but it's good for business too. And it's going to hopefully allow us to open back up and reduce our numbers of positivity rates and infection rates and so forth. But yeah, very, very important cause.
Excellent. Well, you answered my next question, which was about why should we subscribe to the spirit of this pledge? But then now, I guess from the county's point, what do you hope to see from this program? Where are your markers for, okay, this is good. Okay, we're understanding it. The businesses are getting it. What are those markers like for you?
Well, I think, this, obviously we're living in an environment where, we closed everything down, and then we started to kind of gradually reopen. And then we, after Memorial Day, we started to see a surge, and now we're going backwards. And the state has closed down various sectors, and that's where we're at today. And, the top-down approach works to a certain extent, but if we're, to paraphrase the "we're all in it together" sort of motto that we hear a lot, if we're not implementing and everybody taking this seriously, then we're going to continue to have these issues of toggling back and forth. And I think the governor uses the dimmer switch, and that's extremely detrimental to the business community. So it's important that we adopt these measures. And so seeing the business community kind of take the lead on this is really critical and important to the success. And like I said, the ultimate goal being we're minimizing the spread of COVID, which helps us reopen and stay open.
Excellent. Before I take this back to David, I had one last thing, because I'm going to do a lot of the questions at the end. Yes, I'm looking at the questions, and a lot of them are good for the end. Besides what David spoke about, the form that kind of works through with the business, are there any other tools that the business owner should be looking at from the county? And I know, David, you shared one. Any other tools?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have all those tools accessible on our Rivco BizHelp website.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, I think it's the application of those rules and regulations that, David held up, and you saw them. We have the links to those, but I think it's, and certainly we have other tools, related to this from a financing standpoint and grants and so forth. But if you're talking specifically to this, I think it's translating those specific requirements, which is, as David mentioned, it's Department of Public Health and OSHA. And we've entered kind of a new phase of this where, when we first started a few months ago, it was, you heard a lot of words like strongly encouraged, recommended. Now you have enforcement actions taking place, and that's sort of this new phase that if the business community isn't following these guidelines and requirements, they have teeth in them. And I've often heard David say, hey, you've got Cal OSHA on here and the Department of Health, and that's what, those guys are starting to enforce those sorts of things. So, I think it's important, again, to translate that guidance and then figure out how to apply it to their business, because there's a million different types of businesses out there, and they're all very nuanced and different. And it's taking that and then applying it to the operations. As David said, sometimes they don't know where to start. What does all this mean? How do I do this for my shop? Okay, I know I can put hand sanitizer out there, but what else should I be doing?
Right. No, that's perfect. And David, before I bring this back to you, there's one question that works right now from Kathy. How our business consists of a husband and wife team, no additional employees. How does taking this pledge work for us?
Who's the question for?
I would think that that's going to be for David, or for Rob, actually for Rob. I apologize.
So how do they, so a husband and wife team with no further employees? Well, that's a great question, but I think everybody, whether it's a small, sort of the proverbial mom and pop operation to a large retail facility or a large office or whatever the case may be, can take steps. Even maybe they're not a public facing operation, but there's things that they can do. and maybe they already are, and it's fairly straightforward, but I think it's also important not just in their business behavior, but also in personal behavior as well. So they may be covering those touch points, but it's also, you get into other things like, not having backyard gatherings with large groups of people where populations are mixing. So some of this becomes business, and then some of it's on other forms of behavior as well.
Excellent. David, can you add to any of what Rob has said?
I think for anybody, if we look at what the pledge means, and I refer back to, I'm a data guy, and I look at what law says, and when I put a program together, yeah, I put the risk assessment together, I do the site plan, and I do the training, but at the end of the day, what we provide every business, to include all of their employees, is the confidence and to ease anxiety. Right now, there's so much anxiety. If you're a small business owner, outside of just your normal day-to-day anxiety, now you got the anxiety of, they just closed me down for a second time, and am I going to be able to recover and still provide a living for my family? And with that, what does that mean in my business setting? The anxiety of maybe my employees, or what that might look like, big or small. Getting a plan, an effective plan, eases anxiety. I was in the Marine Corps for 27 years, and trust me, we didn't go into Iraq without a plan, because if we had, there would have been a lot of anxiety with a lot of people not knowing what to do. But if you know exactly what to do and how to then implement all those control measures into your business, it eases that anxiety. So that's the part that they need to focus on. For the small business that came out and said it's just a husband and wife, I saw in the Q&A that you provide, it's a service business, and you provide the installations in customer facilities. So what does that mean for you? You know now that you can go into your facility, into your customer's facility, and that you have taken the pledge. And if that pledge means that you're doing all the right things that are required for your business, then your customers should appreciate that, in knowing that you took the pledge. Whether you're in a service industry, or you're in a restaurant industry, you're in the car business, salons, barbershops, it really doesn't matter. But if, let's say that you take the pledge, that's telling me as a consumer that I can trust that if you come to me or I come to you, that we're not going to have an issue with cross-contamination. And as long as we're all doing what we're required to do. And Rob kind of touched on it, in the beginning, everything was kind of encouraged, but I can tell you that Cal OSHA is the author of this document, along with the California Department of Health. And being in the compliance business, being a safety guy in the compliance business, I can tell you the way that their fees get paid is through fines and citations. They did a query in Los Angeles, city of Los Angeles. They did 1,000 inspections. 500 of them failed because people were not in compliance. They didn't have the risk assessment. They didn't have the site plan, and they didn't do the training. You have to have all those parameters in place to then ease anxiety and move forward. And I know I'm talking probably more than everybody else, but that's how you do it. And then if you're part of something like the pledge, where now I'm with a group of business owners across my realm of influence, then everybody that is a consumer should know, hey, you're doing the right thing, and you're the place that I want to go get my hair cut, or your restaurant's the one that I want to go eat at, or your dealership is the car dealership that I want to go buy cars at, because they know they can go there safely, that you have a protocol, and they're not going to get sick.
That's a great segue, David, to Al. Al, why is the chamber taking time to adopt this pledge? Because this webinar, I know we've seen the emails, we've been asked as chamber members, as businesses, to take this pledge.
Thank you, Julie, and thanks everyone for having me. Rob and David, thank you so much. You've covered just about everything. You made my job easy, so thank you. This is something that it's easy to say, And for me personally, I'm a visual person, and I think a lot of my fellow chamber members and community are visual people. This is kind of a visual, if you will. It's a tool. As David said earlier, people don't know the steps. This helps with steps to get them to that step 3. And I think that, I know that the pledge is a brand, not to be confused with marketing. It's a brand. And people like certifications. People will do business with people that are certified. I used to be in the jewelry business, and people like GIA certified diamonds because it gives them peace of mind. It gives them confidence. Some of you folks my age, I don't know if there's too many of you, do you remember the Good Housekeeping seal?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
My mom swore by the Good Housekeeping seal. Today, what is it? JD Power. People love doing business with a JD Power business. So we just kind of want to push it that way, that we have this strong brand in our pledge, and it means something. And by no means, I want you guys to understand, this is not a rubber stamp. There's some work to do on your part.
Yes.
If you take the pledge, we want you to follow some of the steps. What are you going to get? Did that answer your question, or you want me to go on? Or?
No, you know what? It actually goes into the next question. What do you think our role is as a chamber in helping these businesses do this safe reopening to be able to take this pledge?
Yeah, well, you know what? Number one, a resource. We want to be a resource. And I was having this conversation, I don't remember with who, I think I was having this conversation with David over at Abbott. And we were saying, and Brian Connors at the hospital, we're fortunate because we have resources.
Yes.
The dealership we've been using with Kip Prawl and Associates, our safety manager, for close to 30 years. So we have that. My concern is, the mom and pops, the
Yes.
taco shop, the small restaurant, the nail shop. Those are the people that maybe don't know. So they take the pledge, we offer the resources, and we follow up, and they can call us anytime for questions, or maybe OSHA paid them a friendly visit. I will tell you, I've had several friendly visits from OSHA. They will work with you if they see an effort from you. So they come to your business and they see you took the pledge and maybe you missed something. They're going to be a lot more flexible with you. They're going to be a lot more kind, if you will, if that word, I don't know, David, if that word goes with OSHA, but they'll work with you because they see you're trying.
Thank you so much, Al. David, I'm going to ask you one more question because I know money is on everybody's mind at this moment. How much does it cost to get to an acceptable level? Is there a cost that we could put to it? It's such a broad question, but it's a good question because I think everybody thinks it's going to be almost out of their range and everybody's worried about money right now. Can you help us understand that a little bit better?
Sure, I get it. Everything's based for me and my corporations based on an hourly rate. And something like this where you do a risk assessment, which is a visit, then you come back and you outbrief with their site-specific safety plan, and then you come back and do a train. So you got 3 visits. You've got about 17 hours of service time.
Mm-hmm.
That would normally cost about $3,200 to $3,500.
Okay.
But because I live in this valley and the things that affect David Berrigan's life, like going to a restaurant or going to my, again, my favorite restaurants, my favorite bars, or whatever I go to, I've reduced it to cover my cost, which is $1,000. And I've done that because I just want to get Temecula Valley, our inland empire, back up and running. And if I can assist in doing that, then I'm all over it. My company is all retired military. So primarily Marines and sailors. And so we're right here in Temecula. It's our backyard. And we're right now doing a lot of industry here, a lot of the wineries, restaurants, barbershops, hair salons. I mean, you name it. If you go to my Instagram site, you'll see the videos of the places that we've done. But again, I'm not trying to make money. I'm trying to get people back to work because it affects all of us. And Rob mentioned, you know, taking care of each other. You know, I've got a saying, we are a brother's keeper, and we all are in this together. I mean, whether we like it or not. Now there's relationships that have been built as a result of this, and some of them are right here on this webinar. You know, I've heard of Al Rubio, but I didn't meet him until I was on a task force with him. So with that said, we do need to work together. And Temecula, Murrieta, our entire Inland Empire area that we're responsible for, we have the technical expertise here and the professionals that can get this all working together. And again, $1,000, I mean, for some people that might mean a lot, but I'm telling you, it's money well spent, only because it's a core competency of my company. I'm an occupational safety and health company. This is what I do. If business owners try to do this on their own and they're not in compliance, and as Al said, you know, Cal OSHA does show up, if you don't have the right plan or you're not in compliance, it is a finable scenario. And I guarantee you it will be much, much more than $1,000.
So
What they're finding people in LA right now is about 18 grand a day.
oh my gosh. And I did hear rumor of that. So with that said, do we have any other questions? I did see here from Janet. She said, you know, they're like Kathy, they go out to client sites to fix the computer. So Janet, from everything that we're hearing, I'm thinking that taking this pledge, like Al said, it's a certification that says you're really working to be safe. And even if you're a small company, David can come out and help, and Rob's got all the resources. So Janet, you're on the right track. You're getting tested for COVID. You're making sure you're staying negative, but you don't want to walk into a client's business every day and say, I tested negative. You want to just have it as a brand that says, we are doing everything we can to keep you safe when you're out and about. Al, does that sound about right? Is that what that spirit is all about?
Yeah, 100%. You know, I want to add that, you know, a lot of it is optics. I had a dentist appointment just before this. I went in, they checked my temperature, they had me wash my hands again. They had me put my mask in a plastic bag. They gave me one of their masks. I went back, and obviously I had to take my mask off because it was the dentist, but I felt safe. I thought, wow, they're really doing this. They're really doing this right. So I want to circle back to the pledge. I don't want you to take the pledge because the county says so, the chamber says so. I want you to take the pledge because you think it's the right thing to do. We just want to be the resource to give you the tools, but the pledge has to come, you know, from you, and you have to follow up on it. And it's not a matter of, you know, signing up for it, doing it. It's an ongoing thing. This is here. This is ongoing. It's a moving target, as you know. Tomorrow, the news may change completely. So you have to be adaptable and be ready to adjust. We all do. And I think that we've experienced that. And we're all going to have a great little blurb on our resumes about what we know about, we've learned in the last few months. But, you know, I do want you to understand that this is something that is ongoing. And the other thing is I want you to be proud out loud. When you take the pledge, and if your business has a website, you know, put your badges on there. Put on there what you're doing. Put a little blurb wherever, you know, your webmaster feels that it fits, but you do want to get that on your website, any paraphernalia that you have for your business.
Agreed. It is,
and
like you said.
And the chamber will help with that.
And I love that you say it's like a brand. It's branding you. So excellent.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do we have any questions from our participants? I'm trying to answer and I'm seeing them. Do we have any other questions? Let me give people a chance to type it in if they do.
Wanted to make one more comment that in this documentation that I talk about, and it talks about the protocols, it's not just the protocols that are, the requirements aren't just the protocols on to avoid cross-contamination, but also if you do have someone that comes up positive. So if somebody comes up and says, hey, I've got an employee that tested positive, what do I do? all of that, it's a pathway to success. It will show you what you need to do. And so that's important because in today's day and age, we are having, unfortunately, people in our businesses that test positive. So that's important to know.
I agree. You know,
Great point.
that leads me to a question, Rob, for you. Before I get to a Q&A question, what should we all understand about the links between public health and economic reopening? And the reason I say that is because Janet mentioned yesterday that that one of her techs went into an office, and the office that they were working in wasn't masked up and everything, I believe is what she's saying. And so it says here, oh, we don't wear masks while we're in the office. And so she reminded her tech, well, we do. And you know that he masked up and he worked. And so what is that link between public health and economic reopening?
Actually, I think that's, to an extent, that's an easy one. It's a direct link. And in today's environment, and you know, we're forced to make that connection. And we're living in an environment where the public health metrics went in the wrong direction. And you know, again, we have to discuss this, you know, from both the personal, you know, the safety side. We don't want anybody to get sick. We don't want anybody to die. We don't want anybody to have any permanent health issues. But from the business standpoint, there is that direct link. And it's the brand, it's a commitment to public health and safety. And like I said earlier, the sooner that we can get, you know, the metrics and the statistics going in the right direction about positivity rates and hospital bed utilization and so forth, the more we can open up and reopen and continue to grow. And so I would say very clearly that link is very direct and not to be overly dramatic, but it's really critical at this point. If the numbers keep going in the wrong direction, the governor is likely to continue to shut down additional sectors or maintain them closed for a longer period of time, which is it's a stake in the heart to businesses. They can't keep opening and closing and opening and closing. That's extremely impactful. So yeah, very, very important.
I would agree. I think sometimes it costs more to constantly open and reopen, open and reopen. David, is there a way that a business can do their own risk assessment if they just don't have the financial means right now? Is there something that they can at least start to do on their own?
Well, you know, I can tell you that if I was a restaurant owner, my core competency would be to make food and provide service in the restaurant industry. If I was a barbershop, my core competency would be to cut hair. David Berrigan's core competency is risk assessing. That's what I do, and I'm an occupational safety and health professional. Can someone do it? I would venture to say that you could probably attempt to do it, and you might do a great job. However, how do you know that you've met the mark per the Cal OSHA requirement? And if you haven't, and you do get inspected, and let's take the enforcement piece out of it. If you do a risk assessment and you don't hit the right mark, then you're going to have to write a site-specific safety plan, which is about 5 or 6 pages long,
Right.
and you're not going to hit the right mark, and then you're going to have the wrong protocols in place. So I would say the short answer is I probably wouldn't try to do this on my own unless you have a safety professional in your company, and a lot of the larger companies have safety professionals that work for them. I will also say that for the smaller businesses, if you have a broker, an insurance broker, you might want to call them and see if that's a service that they could provide for you for free. And I've referred some of my other clients, you know, before you come to me and spend $1,000, call your insurance company first, because they might give you a free risk assessment. With that free risk assessment, you're going to have to ask them to write you a site-specific plan and then do your training. But if they can do the 3 things that are required in the guidelines for you and it's free, then I would absolutely go there first.
Okay, excellent. And I think that really was geared to the smaller businesses. But I think the larger businesses, I would agree, the risk managers, the restaurants, the people who deal with the public so much, like in such close quarters, I agree. Al, were you about to say something before I asked you a question?
Actually, yeah. You know, one of the things that if you have, you know, employees, and David touched on this, is having them trained. Because I'm just telling you from our experience as a dealership and having a couple of hundred people run around and probably having several dozen service customers and customers in for appointments to purchase vehicles. We obviously want to make sure everyone is safe, but the number one thing for us is to make sure our employees, our staff is trained, they know what to say, because a day doesn't go, I hear the gals in the call center making appointments, and I can tell by their answers, they're getting the question, is it safe for me to go set foot on your dealership? And it's really important for your employees to be able to say the right thing and sound confident when they're sharing that
Absolutely.
it is a safe place to come to. And but one of the things that we want to be sure of too is not to over, talk, because then the customer feels like maybe it's rehearsed or it's not true. So just go with the flow, with what the customer's asking. And one of our biggest challenges is we had to cut out our shuttle service, and there's a lot of customers that are not happy about it. So we've come up with a plan where we'll do a one-on-one, and we'll grab a car and take you if you're okay with that. Our driver will wear a mask, the car is sanitized, and what have you. But when they answer the phone, we don't say, oh, by the way, we don't have a shuttle right out of the gate. It's it's how you present it.
Perfect. Al, does the chamber have resources for personal protective equipment, PPE? Let's just do that. PPE. Yes, absolutely. Somebody can call, and actually, I think Brooke was her and Laura have been manning the station there, maybe Katie and Emily too. But somebody can call, make an appointment, come by. They don't have to come in. They will hand them the PPEs, at the door, but they do have to call first. Excellent. Thank you so much for letting us know that. So everybody now knows there's a resource. The chamber has their hand up. I don't know if that's meant to be. All right. Let me see here. I do have another question. Can a customer ask to see your on-site safety plan? That's from Michelle. Rob, I don't know who should answer that. Maybe Rob?
Could you repeat that again, please?
Can a customer ask to see your on-site safety plan?
Why don't you let me answer that, Rob?
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead,
okay.
David.
So the requirements that have been set forth in the guidelines are an addendum to your injury, illness, and prevention plan, your IIPP. So when this all gets done, that when Cal OSHA comes to your site to review your posture, they're going to want to see your IIPP. This document is part of the infection control plan of the IIPP. It wouldn't be an appropriate question to see their IIPP. Like, I'm not going to come down to a car dealership and go, let me look at your IIPP, because that's not for public. That's the protocols for their business. However, the public can say, one, have you taken the pledge? And two, what are your protocols to prevent the spread of COVID-19? And if the person, as Al said, is very confident, our protocols are this.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in, we take your temperature, we ask you to wear a mask. If it's a restaurant, you wear your mask all the way to the table. The table itself is sanitized after every single client comes and has a meal. The bathrooms are sanitized, and there's a sheet in there that shows what time they signed in or what time they sanitized, and all of the protocols are on the. And when you tell them that, then you give them the confidence, like, oh, okay. But it's not appropriate to come in and go, let me look at your California documents. I mean, and honestly, unless you're the safety person at that place, you're probably not going to know where it's at anyway. So.
That is true. So not appropriate, but completely possible. There's no thing that you can say no by law. I don't have to show it, but not appropriate. And you're absolutely right. But it's absolutely possible that they'll ask.
And the businesses are posting the signage and all the protocols, you know, part of what the site-specific plan requires is that you have signage. So when they come in, they'll see the signs, they'll see the questions that need to be asked. All of that's written for them. It's just not in their injury, illness, prevention plan that they're providing.
Perfect. I do have a
You
couple
know,
of really
if
good
I-
questions, but I think
Can
Emily
I add
wants to say
something, Julie?
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Al.
You know, this, I wasn't planning on talking about this. I just want to keep it short, but I do want to mention this. When somebody comes in looking to see your plan, be careful because they're trolling. They're starting. We've had trolls come when years ago we were handicap compliant, and then all of a sudden we get the letter from the trolls. So be careful.
Emily, what would you like to say before I go on to 2 more questions that I think are really good, and you may answer them because I know you can see them.
Lee, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Hey, I just want to thank all of our panelists so much for your participation. I think based on what all of you have shared, I'm reminded of an old adage, and it's that if we do what we can with what we have, the spirit of that intention is going to lead you on the right path. And as business owners, we are all extremely strapped for resources and time and answers. And so the pledge is really just a pathway for you to get some immediate help, resources, and insight. And that we hope will empower you to take little steps forward with assessing your risk, taking risk mitigation efforts, whether that's using an outside professional, whether that's just using logic or the guidance documents that we provide to help guide you through that. The state of California has provided some excellent checklists for every single industry to kind of walk through. And when you sign up to take the pledge, our chamber is going to send you all of those resources so they're right there at your fingertips. So, you know, I appreciate all of the comments here today, just encouraging all of us as a community to do what we can with what we have responsibly, because like Rob said, the interest of public health is directly tied to how and when we can reopen our businesses fully. So thanks, Julie.
You're muted, Julie.
You're muted, Julie.
Emily, I think what you said about the county having those resources is it kind of goes back to that last question with David about the smaller businesses, the 2-person mom and pop where it's just husband and wife. It's a great starter point for them, at least, to see where they're at and then to see if they need the other services. But at least the checklist will give them a good starter point, just something that they can look at and go, okay, here's where we're at, but here's where we need to be. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that's why, you know, check out the landing page on the pledge through our website. When you take the pledge, we generate an email that is sent back to you, and it has links to all of these guidance documents and checklists. And that's a logical first step. It gives you the tools to assess your own workplace. And certainly it makes sense to reach out to other chamber members who can help you with risk assessment or with PPE provisions or with you know, construction to adapt your workplace. You know, leverage the community resources you have around you to be as safeguarded as possible. And that's just it's an individual path for each one of us, but we want to make sure that you know the resources are here and that there's a community of people with insights and different levels of expertise and experience to help guide you through that.
Perfect.
You know, Emily, that's a great point, because we have the Temecula Dealers Association, and we talk to each other all the time before COVID. But right now, it's a hot topic, and we talk with each other a lot, and we're a great resource for each other.
As an insurance company, we do the same. We talk to each other. So I wanted to get through 2 more questions. Rosalind, if you go into a business like a car dealership or anything, and they are not enforcing their safety protocols for their employees and their customers, or in general, like, I guess safety protocols in general, who do you report it to?
Can I
I
take
don't
that
know. Who do we report a business to if they're not following any type of safety protocol or not even their own safety protocol? Rob, I guess that would be a question for you.
I'd like to take it first, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm just talking from as a car dealership. What I would like to see happen is, I mean, somebody's welcome to report it, but if I went into a business and saw that they weren't following, I would ask to speak to the manager or owner. And then if I got blown off, then I would go to a higher, to the authorities. If it were, say, DCH, and we said to Rosalind, you know what, Rosalind, mind your own business, and she went all the way to the highest person here at DCH, and she got blown off, then she's welcome to call our corporate office and tell us what's going on. And again, if they blow her off, which is not going to happen, then you can go to. But I think in most cases, Rosalind, you're going to find that you're going to get somewhere if you just speak to somebody of authority at that business.
Excellent. Rob, any further follow-up on that question?
Yeah, in some cases I've seen, folks report businesses to the county in our environmental health department. To give you an example, with food and beverage operations that they regulate, has gone out, it's complaint driven, has gone out to the business, and if they're not operating, there's sort of a progressive form of notification, starting off with helping with guidance, but ultimately could result in a cease and desist letter from our county council. So this is where it's a little bit different than it was in the previous stages, where it was either strongly recommended or encouraged. There is an enforcement component, and so folks can do that. And like I said, it's complaint driven, because at the end of the day too, we don't have the resources necessarily to go out to every business and ensure they're in compliance with state and OSHA guidelines.
Thank you for answering that, Alan. Rob. One last question, and then I'll leave it to anything else, because I don't see any other questions, but will there be decals or anything from the chamber marketing team that says we took it, or is it something we print out and create? That was the question.
Yes, absolutely. Once you take the pledge, you will get an email from the chamber with kind of a little packet, and it has the printable docs. It's got the chamber one, and it's got the pledge, and it says "Safer Together," and committed, safer together, greater together, which I think is really awesome. And if you need help with that, again, as I stated earlier, please, be bold about it. Put it in your windows. Put it on your website. If so be you want to put it on your business card, go for it.
Excellent. And the last question is, when I'm signing up on this pledge, I'm signing up for, taking the pledge means I'm signing up for a service to be certified. It's not something a business can perform on their own. I think we did answer that. Will there be a notice that says the business is Cal OSHA certified that can be displayed? I think that's a Rob, taking this pledge, Rob, doesn't mean it's Cal OSHA certified, so you should answer that question.
No, taking the pledge is voluntary, but it does not give you a blessing by either the county or the State Department of Public Health or OSHA. It is, again, like we were discussed earlier, kind of like the good housekeeping seal of approval. It's business driven, it's chamber driven, and it just shows a commitment on behalf, an important one on behalf of the business, that they're taking public health and safety seriously, and that hopefully they're doing all the things that they've said they've done in this pledge document, and taking that into consideration in their operations.
Excellent. We only have a couple of more minutes. Any final words from anybody on the panel, or any final questions that we can answer for you? We've worked through all of the Q&A that I've seen. Any final words? All right. Hi, Brooke. All right. Well, if there are no final words, and I'm going to check one more time for Q&As. Nope, I think we are good. You guys had some great questions today. Thank you so, so much. I think it was insightful and very well asked and so well answered. I love it that we are doing this Safer Together, Stronger Together pledge. Sorry, hold on one second. I apologize. Taking that pledge is through the chamber. Brooke put that on the participants chat, so you all see it there. Please save that link, get on it after this. And like Al said, take it seriously. It's not just something you sign up for, but it's a continuous learning process, and it changes every day. And I think every speaker will say it changes every day. But David, thank you so much for your expertise. Rob, thank you so much for your insight from the county, and Al from the chamber perspective. Thank you everybody for attending today's seminar. We'll follow up with an email with the video. Like Brooke said, the chamber staff is working so diligently to help the business community, and we are absolutely here for you. If you guys need any resource, any questions, as you can see, they have the best of the best in their pocket. So please reach out to the chamber, ask them your questions. They'll always direct you to the right people. And that's really important, is getting the right answers from the right people who are in it, who are in the trenches and understand it. Any final words, Brooke?
That was great. Thank you so much. I want to thank all the panelists. And like you said, in the chat box, I did go ahead and put the link to taking the pledge. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to us. And we do have PPE. We do have some face masks. Go ahead and send an email to info@temecula.org, and we can get that coordinated.
Excellent. Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, hump day.
Thanks for moderating, Julie.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Always love
you.
talking to you.
Thank you,
My
Rob.
pleasure.
Thank you all.
Thanks, Al.
Thank you, David.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye.